What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, I had to do at least one video today in this series. I had planned on doing the remaining four, but I'm gonna try to get these videos out the way soon. But number four, all right. If you saw who my number five pick was, you probably should have been able to figure out who number four was. If not, you can see now it's Earvin Magic Johnson. At one point in time, and not too long ago, I had Larry Bird ahead of Magic Johnson, and the main reason why I had Larry Bird ahead of Magic Johnson was because I think that Larry Bird is at his peak a better overall basketball player than Magic Johnson. But one thing that never set right with me about having Larry ahead of Magic, and just my personal preference and opinion, Magic kind of won the overall matchup between those two. And even though college doesn't really factor in my equation as far as NBA is concerned, their rivalry goes all the way back in college when Magic beat Bird's team in the championship title game. And Bird often talked about how uh, he was often motivated to play at his best, looking at what Magic did, you know what I'm saying, the night before, you know what I'm saying, because the Eastern Conference played before the Western Conference, so he would look at what Magic did the night before, and if Magic had 28 points, 10 rebounds, 14 assists, he might try to go out there and do his best to get a triple-double. You know what I'm saying? Even though Magic didn't have Magic had a lot more triple-doubles than Larry, but, you know, for a small forward, Larry had, I think, 59 career triple-doubles. Um, and I don't think, you know, Larry was always consciously trying to go for triple-doubles every night, but you know what I'm saying? Like certain players today. Of course, Magic had 138, which Russell Westbrook tied, I think, and he will probably likely surpass him next year or this season coming up. But anyway, and you got the feeling like Magic's team just dominated the 1980s. Showtime dominated the 1980s. Okay, Magic won 5 NBA championships as a basketball player, but it's not just the championships; it's the overall dominance of him at his position and his team. Magic went to 9 NBA Finals. 1980, his rookie year, they went to Finals in 82, they went to Finals in 83, 84, 85, 87, 88, 89, and 91. And who knows what Magic Johnson could have accomplished if HIV didn't derail his career at the still young age of 32. We see what what LeBron James is doing now at age 34. In a couple of months, he'll be 35. So Magic Johnson had his career derailed at a young age when he was still playing at or near his prime. I mean, the last full season he played before, in 1991, he was putting up phenomenal numbers. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't leading the NBA in assists anymore, only because of the awesome exploits of John Stockton, but he still was putting up 20 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds, 1.5, 2 steals, shooting an excellent percentage from the floor, 48 to 50%. He had become a 3-point threat. You had to respect his 3-point shot. He was, in my opinion, an improved defensive player. Never great on that end, but he was improved. A little bit slower, but he still was a great basketball player with much more to accomplish, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? And but you look at the overall impact he had. He was a transformative figure. He was a player we had never seen before and haven't seen since. A 6'9" point guard who could handle the ball like a point guard. Of course, early in his career, he shared backcourt duties with Norm Nixon, a very good player, if not great player in his own right. And later on, Norm Nixon would still be a great player with the Los Angeles Clippers before injuries derailed his career, like in the late 80s or something like that. But Magic Johnson, once he became the sole point guard, Showtime just took off, man. You know what I'm saying? And people can say what they want to say about that Laker team. Magic had all type of help. You know what I'm saying? He had Worthy and Kareem and AC Green and Michael Thompson and Michael Cooper and Byron Scott and all these good and great players. Excuse me. Bob McAdoo come off the bench. You know what I'm saying? They had a great squad. That's true. Kurt Rambis with his hustle and bustle and the great Pat Riley, you know what I'm saying, overseeing the squad and making sure they were ready every year. The competitive practice, the atmosphere at Lakers. It was a great time to be a basketball fan back in the 1980s into the 1990s. But Magic not only uh, helped this team to win, he changed the culture of LA. He changed the it's hard for me to explain. Before Magic joined the Lakers, they were a very good team. They were a very good team. But they did not have a culture of winning. They thought that would occur with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a great player. But a great player, especially a center, can only do but so much without a great floor man, a great floor general. You know what I'm saying? Especially in that era. And in any team, a great big man can only do but so much. That's why Anthony Davis, any great center, they need a great floor general. And you don't get any better than Earvin Magic Johnson. And he instantly turned that team around and made that team not only not only were they a very good team, they became a championship level team. And he brought an enthusiasm. He brought an aura of winning, and he brought a level of expectation of only winning would be accepted in LA. That's why I'm not a Laker fan, but that's probably why guys like Ticket TV are so hard on LeBron and so hard on the Lakers because they grew up watching this basketball. Okay, when a bad season for the Lakers was a year where you didn't make it to the finals. That was a bad year. 81, 86, when they didn't make it to the finals, those were like, look, we're going to go back and we're going to work twice as hard during the off season because that's unacceptable. We got to at least make it to the finals. That's what the expectation of for Lakers in the 80s was. We got to make it to the finals. So that's what he changed. He brought this winning culture to the Lakers and to the West Coast and to the organization. You know what I'm saying? And his competitiveness was off the charts. You know what I'm saying? He did not accept anybody to not work as hard or want what he wanted. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And his style was exciting. You know what I'm saying? But it was rooted, not just in being exciting, but it was rooted in, okay, we can put on a show for people, but at the same time, we got to make sure we come away with the win. We're never going to let the show get in front or get in the way of what we got to do as far as business is concerned, and that's winning a championship or trying our best to put ourselves in position to win a championship, and they did that. As a basketball player, Magic Johnson could, he didn't have, I guess, coming into the NBA, what you would call a great shot. He didn't really have much of a jump shot when he came to the NBA. He was more of a fast break, slashing, penetrating type guy. Not that he was a great athlete, but he utilized his size and strength, scoring in the post and whatnot. But he didn't really have much of a jump shot. And that is what was his limitation at the time. And that hurt him in the 84 finals to the point where he played out of himself, turned the ball over and not being able to make certain shots because he didn't really have his repertoire. And that's when the media was going with that moniker, calling him Tragic Johnson. But ultimately, Magic Johnson began to develop certain things in his repertoire. He developed to be able to at least be able to knock down open shots. His range increased. I would say when he first came to the NBA, he probably couldn't consistently knock down a 15-footer. By the time he announced his retirement, he was a three-point shooter who you had to respect in the 36 to 38 percentile range. He was a knockdown, set shot three-point shooter. He could consistently knock down a 20-footer. When he got it going offensively, he was a guy you had to respect from the outside, especially due to his height advantage. Um, he had great ball handling ability for a guy his size. Hand-eye coordination was unbelievable. His passing ability was unbelievable, and never have I seen a guy his size be able to pass the way that he could pass. I personally would rank him as probably just a little bit behind John Stockton as far as passing ability is concerned. You know what I'm saying? I've seen some great passers. You know what I'm saying? Mark Jackson's a great passer. Steve Nash was a great passer. You know what I'm saying? Rod Strickland, all these guys. But me personally, I think that Magic is just behind John Stockton as far as passing ability is concerned, is one of the great passers of all time. On the defensive end, he had a reputation of being not a great defensive player, but I think he became an above average defensive player over time. Early in his career, he gambled a little bit more as far as what steals are concerned. That's why a couple of years he led the NBA in steals and by a healthy margin. But he was more of a gambler, and sometimes he would get burnt on defense. He didn't gamble as much later on in his career, so his steals per game went down from maybe like 2.5 to maybe 1.5. But overall, he became a much more solid defensive player. Like I said, he wasn't great on the defensive end, but he could hold his own. And his basketball IQ, as you would see with most of these guys, was extremely high. He could score. Not a great scorer, but he could score. And that wasn't his game, to go up there and try to score 30 points every night. He was a guy who scored when the team needed him to score. And one of my favorite shots that he developed, and you saw in the 87 finals, and you saw the leaps that he took from 84 to 87 offensively, because you didn't see him doing this in 84. That baby hook shot, that shot that the Lakers won that pivotal game 4 against the Celtics, that the Bird hit that killer 3-point over James Worthy, which gave them the lead momentarily. Then later on, I think it was the very next possession, Magic Johnson hit that baby hook shot in the lane over the outstretched arms of Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. That wasn't the championship winning shot, but that was a pivotal game that gave them a decisive 3-1 lead. And ultimately, I think they won that series. I think it was in 6. And that would began a run for Magic where he was clearly the best player in the NBA. Bird was starting to trend downward. Bird had won 3 straight MVPs, 84, 85, 86. 87 was the last year where I think he was, 88 he was still a great player, but slowly but surely injuries are going to start robbing Larry Bird of his greatness. Julius Ervin was done. Michael Jordan was great, but he wasn't Michael Jordan yet. He was a great scorer, but he was young. He did not know quite. His mentality was, I got to do everything that I can do to win. He didn't trust his teammates yet. His team wasn't quite good enough yet to get to that level. The Lakers' only competition at this time was a young, rough and tumble team, a gang of vagabonds by the Detroit Pistons. By the name of the Detroit Pistons, Isaiah Thomas, who pound for pound might be the biggest. The biggest competitor there was, and the greatest little man there ever was. But from 87 to 90, it was Magic Johnson's league. You know what I'm saying? Although the Pistons won the title in 88, 89, and 90, I firmly believe that if Magic Johnson didn't go down with injury, as well as Byron Scott in 89, I firmly believe the Lakers would have three-peated. I really do believe that. I think that 89 team was better than that 88 team that barely won the championship. I know some people not agree with that, but they were rolling in the playoffs. They were 11-0 in the playoffs. I mean, just beating the hell out of teams. And then Byron Scott goes down. Then Magic Johnson goes down in game one. I think they were down a little bit. I think they would have won that series. They went on to get swept, but the scores weren't really, blowouts. They were kind of close. And I just can't help but think if Magic Johnson was the point guard instead of, what was it, Jeff Lamp? Uh, and Byron Scott was there, I can't help but think that the Lakers would have won that title. But that's an argument that can't be proven, okay? But ultimately, Magic Johnson would will his club to one more NBA Finals appearance in 1991, upsetting the heavily favored Portland Trailblazers in the Western Conference Finals. And an intriguing matchup, Magic versus Michael. And in game one, Magic and the Lakers got the upset victory. I think it was a game-winning three-pointer by Sam Perkins. But ultimately, the Chicago Bulls, and also Magic Johnson was giving Michael Jordan the business. Michael always wanted the challenge of guarding the better player on the team. Magic, being a great player he was giving him the business. They switched off and put Pippen on him. Pippen was a little bit longer with the long arms. He gave Magic some problems. And for a lot of that series, Magic struggled a little bit at times. And the Lakers went on to lose in 5. But Magic Johnson, being the player that he was coming back for the next season, played well in the preseason and going into 91-92 season, had a triple-double in one of those preseason games. Then I think they were going to Utah to play the Utah Jazz, and he didn't feel well. Had flu-like symptoms, didn't think much of it, went to get a physical, and we all know what happened. We all know that he was diagnosed with HIV virus. He had to retire. He announced it on November 7th, 1991. And at that time, people weren't worried about whether Magic Johnson was going to return for basketball. We were wondering in the back of our minds how long we would have Earvin Magic Johnson, period. But he's beaten the odds because of the competitor that he was. And he came back and made the All-Star team that year because he was an active player going into the season. His name was on the ballot. He played in the All-Star game and won All-Star game MVP, hitting shot after shot after shot. And he retired from the game, won Olympic gold in Barcelona later on that year. And, Magic Johnson, just one of those great players. I mean, he had an abbreviated comeback with the Lakers in 95, 96, but we don't count that against him, man. You know what I'm saying? Magic Johnson, one of the great players of all time. And I get it. Younger people who are more caught up in offense and three-point shooting, oh, man, Magic couldn't shoot. They don't quite understand the talent that Magic Johnson was as a basketball player, like, and what he contributed out there on the court. You know what I'm saying? Like his overall game and what he could do. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine a guy almost as big as Kevin Durant. Just a little short. I put it like this. A guy like LeBron James size, but he's a point guard. I mean, you can't do anything with that. At least with LeBron James, there are other guys that have been small forwards that have been his size. Anthony Mason, actually a little bit bigger than LeBron. But we've never seen a guy, Magic Johnson's size, that can do what he can do. Never. So let's go through the accolades for Magic Johnson, man, and what he's done as far as the NBA is concerned. Of course, 5-time NBA champion. All right. 3 times NBA Finals MVP, 80, 82, 87. In 85, the MVP went to Methuselah, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. In 88, it was big game James Worthy. 3 times he was the NBA's MVP, 87, 89, and 1990. Some people feel like Charles Barkley should have won the MVP in 1990. But that's, up for debate. All right. What else? 2 times he was the NBA All-Star Game MVP, 1990, and the aforementioned 1992. 9 times All-NBA First Team, All-NBA Second Team in 1982. He was an NBA All-Rookie First Team in 1980. Some people thought he should have won MVP, Rookie of the Year over Larry Bird. When you have a 32-game turnaround, you got to give it to Larry Bird. 4 times he was the NBA assist leader, 83, 84, 86, and 87. 2 times NBA steals leaders, 81 and 82. The J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award in 1992. A lot of that probably had to do with his working with the then Bush administration, probably as far as bringing awareness to the HIV virus and things of that nature. He was on the NBA's 50th anniversary all-time team. Of course, his number 32 is retired by Los Angeles Lakers. And the rest of this is college stuff, so I'm not going to mention it too much. Before his career, look at these numbers. 19.5 rebounds per game, 19.5 points per game, 7.2 rebounds per game, and an NBA record 11.2 assists per game. Shot 52% for his career, by the way, so an exceptionally high field goal percentage for a point guard. And, of course, he won Olympic gold in Barcelona, my number 4 pick all time, Earvin Magic Johnson. Tell me what you guys think.